What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking on this 7-gallon shallow. It's going to be an interesting build because I'm trying to make this build as simple as possible, as natural looking as possible, and it's going to be for some shrimp. So let's go ahead and get into it. Right, so like I said, we're going to be taking on this, I want to say challenge, because it's a shrimp tank. I find that shrimp tanks can be a little bit more challenging in the sense that it's a little bit harder to get them to be like at the perfect balance in order for you to be able to put shrimp in here and thrive. Now, the reason why I'm building another shrimp tank is because currently I have my shrimp in here. I think over the past few months that I've had shrimp in here, I haven't had too many losses. I had some losses when I actually ordered these little guys here, the blue velvet. Is there another one that might be a little bit closer? Oh, there's one up there on that leaf. I had one loss, but that's a loss that came during the shipping, so I wasn't really too worried about that. But I haven't really seen too much activity from the shrimp in terms of breeding, which is why I want to start a new tank. Now this tank is a little bit bigger than that. I think that one's like 4.5 gallons. This is about 7 gallons of water. It's a shallow tank. It's going to end up being less than that because I'm going to put some rock in here. I'm going to try to decorate. You probably already saw it in the thumbnail, but I'm going to try to make this as shrimp friendly as possible, and I'm going to try to keep it as basic as I can. Like always, you guys know I use materials that are very cheap. So aside from the tank, I remember when I got this tank, it was probably like around $70 when I got it. This is actually a pretty good tank. It's by Evzone. Evzone makes really good products. But yeah, this is probably one of the cheapest tanks that I was able to get at the time. So I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be using this tank. Hopefully I can come up with something nice enough to be able to, just let cycle for a couple of weeks and then eventually put some shrimp in here. All right, so you already might see that I have the filter here on the side. The only reason why I'm keeping it there throughout the build is because I don't want to block anything. So here on this side, I have the outflow, and this is the inflow. Obviously, you want to have an inflow for a shrimp tank that has kind of like a guard or this kind of mesh. I forget what this is called, but you want to make sure that you block the intake as much as possible because you don't want any of your shrimp to get sucked up. But yeah, that's the reason why you see the filter there. And then this light I've been using for a very long time. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to try and start off probably with a base. It's going to be gravel. I don't want to use anything else. I'm going to use gravel. And also, there's going to be something that I'm going to be doing with this container here because I'm actually going to put some terrestrial plants in here that are going to end up being immersed, right? Immersed plants, right? So this is going to end up going here in the back, and I'm going to be putting a type of pothos in here, and it's just going to be sitting here in the back, but we'll get to that in a bit. All right, so for now, I put the light all the way in the back so that I have some space, and you can see I have a hell of a lot of gravel. I'll probably end up using most of it, probably not all of it, but I'm just going to put some in here by hand just because I don't want to use anything plastic or metal because it's going to be super noisy. All right, and you guys already know, well, if you're new, maybe you don't know, and if you're new around here, welcome. The reason why I put gravel or sand usually typically down in the bottom layer before I put any rock or anything like that, any like heavy hardscape, is because I always prefer to put my hardscape on top of gravel or sand or just something that cushions it because I don't like putting rocks directly onto the glass, just to try and hopefully prevent any type of crack. All right, so the idea for this tank is to kind of leave this forward or this front foreground area open and just put rocks, probably coming up all the way to this edge, which is why I kept the filter in here, by the way, so that I know exactly where not to put rocks so I don't block the intake. And yeah, just kind of leave all this foreground open, just so that we can add a little, decorative sand, maybe some other decorative gravel, and then, be able to see the shrimp whenever they're grazing in the foreground. Now it's going to be time to add some rocks. I have a decent selection of pretty small rocks that I'm going to be using. And I want to use something that's like flat towards the front, even if it's not like extremely flat. I'm going to end up covering a lot of this, like if there's any gaps in between the rock and the glass, I'm going to be covering it up with like a decorative gravel, so I'm not really too worried about that. But what I am worried about is making sure that um, I get a decent enough placement for the rocks, because there is going to be obviously plants in here, and I am going to be adding a substrate, or not a substrate, an aqua soil in here, so that I'm able to grow those plants. But I need to pick my rocks correctly just so that I know there's going to be enough depth for me to plant. Just kind of want to play around with your hardscape. You don't have to like do things super quickly and kind of rush it, but it's always just like I said, it's better just play around with it a little bit, see what works where, move things around. If you don't like how a certain rock looks in a certain position, just remember you can always move things around. Just like, it's your scape, right? So you want to move things around, go ahead and move things around, because you want to be happy with what you come up with, or what what you scape. So don't be afraid to move things around if you need to, and find the right pieces for your aquascape. This is the hardscape I came up with. If I don't like something, I'm gonna end up changing it. But for now, I'm keeping it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add that container like in that back section. I'm gonna fill it up with some gravel, and I'm already gonna put the plants in there just so that I don't have to worry about that. And then I can start adding aqua soil all around like the back section, just so, so I can start getting the height. And then I'll start plugging like some of these holes. Like for example, here I'll use gravel to plug that. Any other section where the aqua soil might, I mean, there's going to be aqua soil in the foreground regardless. It's shrimp, um, but even then, not the shrimp themselves only, but it'll just migrate somehow to go into the foreground. But yeah, I'm gonna start actually plugging up the holes, putting the aqua soil in, and then putting that container in. All right, so here's the sand in the container. By the way, this is literally just a Coke bottle cut up in half. And I'm gonna put the pothos in here. I think it's pothos, and yeah. So I'm not gonna poke any holes in it because this sits lower than the rim of the tank, so the water is gonna go in there regardless. But yeah, so this is gonna go in the back. I'm gonna plant the plants into the gravel, and yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Now I did have to. Oh my god, I almost dropped it. I did have to put the light a little bit forward. I think you can see everything. So I want to put these like, I don't want them to be too like too much in the water. So I want to put these. Oh man, it's a little bit. It's gonna be tight for me to be working in here, but just bear with me. All right, so I had to take this off from here, and that looks good. I might have to raise this up a little bit higher just so I don't have the plants like sitting in the water too much. But there we go. I mean, it's gonna look great back there. All right, now that that is in the back, I'm gonna go ahead now and actually start plugging up some of these holes where I know those aqua soil is gonna come through. And I'm gonna try to minimize it as much as I can. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so you can see now that I try to plug everything, but you just can't plug everything up. You can still see small little sections that, the aqua soil is probably gonna go through. But anyway, you can also see that I added this other like finer gravel. It's still kind of like the same tone as the gravel, the bigger gravel. So I think that looks great. And now what I'm gonna do now is on top, not on top, but here in the very front, I'm gonna use the red sand that I've used before. It's called desert sand. I'm gonna use that because it's also gonna blend in well, because there's a lot of like red tones in here and like orange brownish tones. So that's gonna go great. And yeah, so I think it's looking great. After that, I'm probably gonna add the aqua soil last. and then start planting right after that. So let's go ahead and put the red sand in first. I don't know about you, but this is looking amazing. Oh my God. Just the tones, like the colors just blend in so well. I'm really happy with this, the way this foreground turned out. I think it looks amazing. I think it looks great. It blends in perfect. Like I feel like I found a good combination in terms of colors, like the transition from the sand and the, the smaller gravel to the higher grade gravel to the rock. Oh, it just looks amazing. It literally looks like the side of a mountain. But yeah, so now that I'm happy with this, I'm going to go ahead and add aqua soil around the back. Some areas might be a little higher than others, but yeah, I mean, still got a little bit of work cut out for us. All right, guys. So the aqua soil I'm using is going to be, it's going to be a little loud, but you can see it there. The Hydra CO2 aqua soil. I've used this on Escape before. It was like a little tiny little what's it called, Dutch style. I'll update you on that later on, but I'm going to be using that in here as well and see how it goes. Hopefully, I mean, the plants I'm putting in here, they grow literally. You can put them in sand and with like the smallest amount of nutrients they'll grow. So I'm going to use this all over the back. All right, so there we are. I got the aqua soil in the back now. You can see it. It's thick enough for the plants that are going to go in here. Um, that you could still see that in the background, but once I put plants all in front of it, you're not really going to be able to see it. So I'm not really worried about that. Plus, it's plastic, so it'll kind of blend in the water. And even if it shows a little bit, I really don't mind. If anything, I would just put another rock up here or something. But yeah, as of now, it is complete. Now all I got to do is wet the soil and then get the plants ready and all that and start planting. All right, so now I'm gonna start planting and I'll just go ahead and put the name of the plants as I'm planting them. I like to do the planting as a little montage. I feel like it's just better and it goes by quicker. And you guys still get to see everything, so you'll be able to see like the name of the plant, like I always do, or typically like I always do. But yeah, let's go ahead and get planting. Right. So here we are after putting the tank together, filling it up and all that, right? Now you might notice that the tank looks completely different. And aside from the hardscape, you might be able to tell that it looks completely different, and that's because it is. So I had an issue with this tank where the aqua soil that I used, which was the Hydra CO2 aqua soil, was just not performing at all. So what I mean by that is I added the aqua soil. The tank, by the way, had already been set up for about 2 weeks up to this point. And I had seen no change in any of the plants that I added at the time. So to me, the only rational thing to do was to remove the aqua soil and add different substrate or different aqua soil. Now the plants are different in this tank now. The reason for that is because Literally every single plant that I added to this tank, it just started melting after I think about a week and a half of the tank being set up. And I'm not talking about just one or two leaves, it literally the entire plant was just dying. And I'm talking about every single one that I put in here. So now what I did is I added different plants. Like I said, the hardscape is still the same, but I ended up adding a mixture of old aqua soil and sand. Let me go ahead and give you a close-up of the tank. I'm going to slow down the filter here so that you're able to see what I mean. So as you can see down in that corner, you can see there is a mixture of aqua soil and sand, and that is what I replaced the other aqua soil that I used in here in order for me to be able to plant new plants. And so the plants that I decided to put in here are the Hydrophila carambosa. Now this is carambosa, but it's not the compact. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on any compact, so I had to use this. Now the compact is this plant here. This is the Hydrophila carambosa compact. As you can tell, this is actually the plant I put in the shallow. So comparing the two, you can see how much more bushy this plant is and a lot smaller. The stems aren't really that long. And this one, it stays pretty small as compared to the one in the bag, which I think that's Hydrophila 53B, if I'm not mistaken. So if you look at them all, there's a big difference in height, but the leaves are kind of the same. So like I said, since I wasn't able to get my hands on any compact, I just used the Hydrophila carambosa. And I'm hoping the original plant for this, or the original plan for this shallow tank is to have the plants start growing out of the water and just kind of have that transition between immersed to submersed, down to the moss, down to the base layer of the tank. And also, like I said, I have moss in here. I decided to add moss just because there is going to be shrimp going in here, and I just thought that the foreground looked a little too bare. I mean, I love the fact that all the rock and the pebbles and the sand all kind of just mix in so well, but I just really felt like it was missing something. And then I also added some Hydrophila pinnatifida. I didn't put too much. I might end up adding more pieces of it, but for now, hopefully those will start taking off. But yeah, I mean, everything had to change. I'm very happy with the way the tank looks. Honestly, I can't complain. But it was just a matter of if I actually stuck with that original aqua soil, how long would I have to wait till this tank is ready? And me not having the ability to have a lot of tanks. I mean, I do have a couple of tanks here and stuff, but I have to tear tanks down at least every 3 to 4 months in order for me to be able to create something new. So it just wasn't worth the wait. But anyways, guys, that's just a little update as to what happened with this tank. Obviously, this whole video is being released as one, but now you kind of get a little explanation other than me just possibly posting the video without really telling you what happened. I just wanted to be transparent and tell you that the aqua soil I used, unfortunately, it did not work. Does not mean that it doesn't work for anybody else or won't work for you, but I just thought it was weird that after 2 weeks, instead of my plants growing, they just all started melting. Regardless, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Hopefully you ended up liking the end result of this tank. Quite frankly, I think it looks great. We're just gonna have to wait and see how these plants grow. I would have loved to have like an update as to how the plants were doing in the previous setup, right? Or I say previous, but in this setup, but different plants. But unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen. So now, eventually, what I'll do once I put the livestock in there and all that, and the tank is mature, I'll just go ahead and make like a short here on YouTube and just post that, because unfortunately I wasn't able to make just one giant video giving you a update from the very beginning to the end. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch the video. If you're new around here, I would appreciate a subscribe, since I'm trying to grow this channel, eventually make it as big as I can possibly make it. Also, go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.